Welcome back. It's Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news from Twitter, the daily fail, meme review, software releases, hardware releases, and the websites by plebs. Joining us today, return guest, fellow Bitcoiner, and person that helps us explain things that we don't understand, Liron. All right, we're going to the numbers. Let's do it.
Number time! Number time is brought to you by Bitcoin 2022. It's going to be the largest Bitcoin conference ever, hosted in sunny Miami. And President Bukele just announced he's going to speak there. And you can take advantage of the link down below for 10% off your ticket to Bitcoin 2022.
At the time of this recording, the block height is 711,871. The Bitcoin price, 58,020. Chain rewrite days, nice little bump on that, 830. Total public lightning capacity, that's a new all-time high, 3,294.34. Moscow time, 1724. And blocks to the halvening, 128,128. Now, for some reason, I feel like that matters.
Dude,
look at
I don't
that,
know.
Man, 128. That's got to be something.
The price is exactly at 58K right now. It's exactly at 58K. It's 58,000, and that's a sign. Fuck you, Dennis. Phil?
We're also at blocks to the halvening, 128,128. So man. 58K plus that equals numbers mean something.
Dude, they're fucking with us. Somebody is fucking with us. I don't know who, but I want to find out. But yeah, man, fuck, this channeling has been brutal. I don't know how long we've been stuck at 58K, but it feels like 5 years. Feels like we've been stuck at this price for 5 years. Add into the mix the clown world that we're all experiencing, and you have a recipe for fucking disaster.
10K forever, Nico.
10K forever.
10K
58K
forever.
is the new 10K. It's true. This is true. Phil's spitting facts. But anyways, Phil, I got a very interesting little tweet thing, chart, and would love to get your guys' thoughts on this. It's by Demester, and he says, think Bitcoin won't demonetize gold? And here is a chart, and let me point out the sources before I show this off, right? Source, Kill BER 2007, the demographics of US, blah, blah, blah. And so, really good sources. And I'll always put the link down below. But anyways, replacement of horses by cars in the United States. Right, here's the 1900s. Remember, it's like, at first it's very slow, and then it's just like a fucking flood. And there are the horses, right? And then it just goes down, right? So I think the reason I wanted to show this is because just these are the bankers, these are the central bankers, right? And these are the Bitcoiners, right? So just keep that in mind, you know, just them talking all the shit they want, right? And, you know, all the, you know, because imagine, I'm sure that the horse and buggy industry captured a fuck ton of regulators back then, right? So, I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking shit. Phil?
That was a great little chart. I just want to point out, though, you know, just for the sake of transparency, Tur has had some takes on Ethereum, and I was blocked for like a really long time for calling him out on something a couple of years ago, and then for some reason he unblocked me. But still, the point is that it's a good take, right? It's a good take on Bitcoin, but he's a bit of a shitcoiner. So, you know, for the people that will go and follow him and appreciate his takes because he's very well spoken, very knowledgeable, just be aware there's some sprinkling of shitcoining in there.
Okay, but focus on the data,
I know,
bro.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm just, you know, I can't help it. Yeah, look, I mean, I think that's accurate. I think that you can do that. You know, it's the same thing with, like, look at what happened, right? Like, nobody thought... Like, you know, people didn't really think that you were going to carry around a phone. I still remember seeing that this ridiculous narrative that, like, no, why am I going to carry around a phone? Look at how huge this thing is. And my uncle had one of the first, like, car phones way back in, like, in the 80s, and this thing was awful. I mean, it was like a giant box in the trunk. So, yeah. You know, it's exactly what you said. At first, it's not very quick, but then all of a sudden, it's just going to be exponential growth, and I think we're just starting to see that exponential growth. Like we're really just building out the you know, the ground floor for this.
Absolutely, Liron, what do you think?
Yeah, I thought that was kind of an interesting chart, especially when you looked at it. You know, they were both sloping upward together for like a little bit there, and then the change happened. And I think
Yeah, so I want to speculate a little bit here, right? This is like kind of the revenge of the horse people. They were just like, no, the cars aren't going to take us back, right? And, you know, of course, I'm totally speculating, but, you know, why else would it just bump up and then start going down?
I just want to point out that bump up that you see on the horse chart is the moment when they spread the biggest FUD of all, that cars are powered by the devil. So,
is that real?
No. But I'm just thinking, you know, for the times. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was something along those lines.
Okay, because I just was like, dude, that's a hell of a good title for tomorrow. Bitcoin is powered by the devil. You know, just anyways, but
let's do it.
It's a good, you know, obviously it's not a very precise chart, but I think it's a good visualization of exactly the moment in history we're living through. And the one that I've actually lived through, because I didn't live through the horse and car thing, but the one that I lived through was essentially the internet taking over, right? And there were so many companies, like, you know, the ones that come off my head is like Barnes and Noble's, Blockbuster, right? They stayed in the analog world and they got left behind by the internet. I suspect Bitcoin's going to do the same thing to banks, right? And not really commercial banks, but more so central banks, right? And you know, in yesterday's episode, you had Christine Lagarde's face, like, you know what? I'm going to save that image of her face. I'm going to start popping up. That's going to be the new jump scare. Christine Lagarde like that. Yeah.
I have a challenge. I have a challenge for the listeners. If we have a Bitcoiner out there that was around during the horse and buggy days, to the convergent over to the car, I want them to message us, and I want to bring them on this show.
Dude,
how old would they be?
They'd be like 120 years old, dude.
Boom. Oldest person. Look at that. And they'd be a Bitcoiner. Okay?
That would be bad. If there was a 120-year-old that was a Bitcoiner, that'd be fucking badass.
It was just funny because you said you weren't around during that time, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, is anybody? Was anybody anymore? I'm like, and then I was like, you know what? If somebody was, let's get them on the show.
That'd be good. If you guys know a 120-year-old that's into Bitcoin, let us know down in the comments. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily Fail. The Daily Fail is brought to you by Amber App. Check them out, amber.app. It's Bitcoin made easy. It's the easiest way to invest in Bitcoin. You can start for as little as $5 a month, but I suggest you stack more than that if you can. Anyways, the link is down below. I think it's going to be really weird when Yellow is actually on the show, but he's also on the show.
Amber, the smart way to stack sats.
Okay, so look, the essentially this was a link that Corey posted in TCBP, the Taco Carnivore Bitcoin Pleb group. Okay, and this is a fellow Bitcoiner, Hugo Nguyen, okay, or at Hugo Hanoi, and shout out to him because you know what, he's one of these low-key Bitcoiners, or at least I think he is, because you don't really see too much from him. But when you do, this guy just blows the lid off the top. I mean, we're going to dive into this right now, okay? Let's go. Ethereum's BS and intellectual dishonesty, a thread. It's a massive thread, okay? Nico's going to scroll through it. But we are going to get to a point where this is going to tie the whole thing together. So I just want everyone to bear with me, okay, bear with us, as we roll through the steaming pile of disingenuous crap that is Ethereum. Okay, here we go. Some background. About 3.5 years ago, I started looking into proof-of-stake systems and published a series of articles documenting my thoughts and findings. Now, of course, we're going to have a link to this tweet, so you guys can go through it and actually take a look at all the research that he's done.
Oh my God, look who this is!
Oh yeah, look, there you go, huh? That's
it's the turd. Turd.
But wait, there's more. This is only the beginning. Okay, since then, I haven't paid much attention to Ethereum until Tur and BitMEX Research's tweet made me curious. So I take a quick look to see what they've been up to. After all, it's been more than 3 years. Ethereum people made so much money. They must have thrown billions at finding scaling solutions. Surely there must be some progress, right? Nope. Just the same BS and more intellectual dishonesty. Let's take a look. This is one of Ethereum's most recent articles by Georgios Konstantinopoulos and Vitalik Buterin, published on Paradigm, July 20th, 2021. So about 4 months ago. The article was likely prompted by concerns raised by Burgle Alex and others back in July on how broken Ethereum has become. The TLDR, too long didn't read, is that Ethereum has a vulnerability that could enable reorgs on-demand services, an existential threat. So here you can see Alex's tweet. You know, holy F, is Ethereum broken? Every design decision they've taken for ETH2 carries absolutely irresolvable centralizing forces. Think staking is bad enough already? The underbelly of MEV is absolutely monstrous. All right, let's keep going. Here's the abstract. It attempts to explain how Ethereum 2.0 will fix the reorgs on demand. So it says here, what they highlighted was the possibility of miners adopting a hypothetical modified Ethereum client that allows them to essentially accept bribes to make a short-term reorg of the chain. Just so you know, we covered this like 2-3 weeks ago in one of our dumps on Ethereum with the new EIP thing that they came out with. Anyways, let's continue on down. It starts off with a few definitions, including something called finality. Now, we've talked about this. What the shitcoiners call finality and what we call finality in Bitcoin are two completely different things, okay? They just throw words around like the word decentralized. Anyways, BS number 1. Just because you name something final doesn't mean that it is actually final in distributed consensus sense. It is also not mathematically impossible to get reorged. More on this silly finality concept from Gasper's official paper. Note the naive assumption about always being able to attribute faults to bad actors when shit hits the fan. Proof-of-stake systems can have no bad actors, but will still finalize different things and have disastrous reorgs regardless. An example is when the network gets unexpectedly partitioned due to extraordinary circumstances. You remember how we were talking about that there was an ETH fork by mistake like 2 weeks ago? Just kind of happened like that? It just kind of happens. Anyways, the honest thing to say, like Satoshi did, is that consensus is always probabilistic. This is something that, and this is what people don't like about Bitcoin, because we talk about the trade-offs. That's why Bitcoin that's part of the reason why Bitcoin attracts the people that it attracts, and it attracts the talent that it attracts to building on Bitcoin. Anyways, not throwing around a term like finality, right? We don't do that. That's what they're doing. The use of deceptive language is a reoccurring theme in Ethereum and proof of stake.
But hold on, Phil. So just to give people more context, and, you know, Leron, could you explain for everybody what this means? The honest thing to say is, like Satoshi did, is that consensus is always probabilistic. What does that mean?
So when we talk about Bitcoin mining, it's this, this computation that happens where we're trying to guess a number and a very big number that's represented in a hash that matches a specific difficulty and things like that. But that's probabilistic. It could happen instantly. It could happen on a CPU technically, but is it probable that it will? Probably not. You probably need an ASIC miner to actually find the block. So that's why consensus is probabilistic. So on the dashboard we have that chain rewrite days. So that's based on probability. Could it take less? Possibly. Could it take more? Possibly. But based on probability, that's what we estimate the time that it would take. So, like Satoshi mentioned, reorgs are a part of Bitcoin's consensus model. The longest chain wins. So as long as it has the most proof of work, that's what wins. And it's all probabilistic. It's all based on guessing these numbers and getting there. So that's where the security, really comes from.
And that's why hash rate is fucking important. And that's why you just want the hash rate to go up forever. I'm sorry, Phil. And we just want to thank our technical correspondent, Leron.
Yep. Okay, so here we go. BS number 2. The next, the article compares proof of work with proof of stake alternatives, but the table curiously lumps together Ethereum proof of work and Bitcoin proof of work. It then proceeds to claim reorgs are frequent in Nakamoto consensus. And there you can see what's highlighted. So a little bit disingenuous there, and we're gonna explain here why. Bitcoin's orphaned blocks have always been rare, and since 2017, extremely rare. One block every few weeks, thanks to the fiber network. On the other hand, Ethereum's orphan rate has historically hovered around 6% or higher. Ultrasound money? I don't think so.
Liron, could you explain what an orphan block is?
Yeah, so every once in a while, 2 blocks are found by 2 separate miners at about the same time. They propagate through the network. And so miners look at these blocks and they choose one of the 2 to build their chain on top of. And then a new block gets found. So then that becomes the longest block, and that other one that is the longest part of the longest chain, and the other one that other miners happen to not find new blocks on, that gets orphaned away. So they don't get any reward, they don't get anything. But those transactions likely still made it into the blockchain because they were probably mined by the other blocks that are there, pretty much.
Awesome.
Very nice. So check this out. By lumping together Bitcoin proof of work and Ethereum proof of work, the author pins the frequent reorgs problem on proof of work. Not because of Ethereum's own incompetence, how it intentionally chose unsafe proof of work parameters that sacrifice security for speed. Quite the sleight of hand. The way the table is presented here is known in psychology as a priming technique. You know how we always tell you about you got to pay attention to the words, right? It's always done on purpose. It primes the reader to be against proof of work from the outset. This would have an effect on people who already have a bias against proof of work or are neutral. To emphasize this frequent reorgs problem, it also references a Princeton paper called The Instability of Bitcoin Without the Block Reward.
All I gotta say is it looks like the legacy media people and the Ethereum people are working together.
Oh yeah. No, just wait. It gets, yeah, don't worry. For me, I was reading through this whole thing and I'm like, okay, this is just like, it's a whole bunch of garbage about Ethereum that, you know, it is just for us who aren't like that technically able to explain it in this way. It's like, oh, thank God that he actually put this into words, you know, so that the more technical people can be like, yeah, wait a second, this is a piece of garbage.
Well, this is why we have Liron here.
Exactly. Okay, so here, let's keep going. Alas, the Princeton paper made several silly assumptions that I and others already debunked. Side note, I don't think that Princeton CS department intentionally attacked Bitcoin to elevate altcoins. It's simply another case of experts in one domain underestimating interdisciplinary subjects like Bitcoin. In this case, it was computer scientists making highly naive assumptions about the game theoretic nature of Bitcoin and conflate long-term versus short-term security. Back to the article, it then describes its proposed proof-of-stake system, Gasper. The keywords to notice here, and crucial to understand proof-of-stake's weaknesses, are block weight and pseudo-randomly chosen staking committees.
Remember that thing that you
is
said?
Such a vitalic word. You can just see him taking so much pride in saying pseudo-randomly chosen.
You know that
it was pseudo-randomly chosen.
You know that thing that you told me about the government? It's like they break your legs and they're like, oh, I could fix your problem for you. You know, when there wasn't a fucking problem in the first place. Anyways.
BS number 3, making the outrageous claims that attackers do not have a way to beat honest majority of thousands of attesters, right? And essentially the attesters are the block validators, right? Okay. Unlike proof of work, to become attesters is cheap, rendering the whole thousands of attesters as toothless as the Amazon Web Service instances. A rich holder could split up and shuffle his take into many pieces to get more votes. These so-called weights can be manipulated without any additional costs. Delegating the difficult task of consensus finding to an all-magical, pseudo-random entity. In Gasper, the staking committees are chosen by a random oracle. Pay attention to the bottom footnote in this section. Because proof of stake does not perform any work, it must generate. Let me read that again. Because proof of stake does not perform any work, it must generate its randomness from somewhere else. Centralization. Whereas proof of work mining injects entropy and along with it, fairness into the system. The use of a random oracle seems like a small problem, but in reality, it is the entire problem. If the source of randomness isn't truly random, it can be exploited. If it is random but relies on a centralized oracle, there's no point in having this decentralization facade. The system is simply centralized. Maybe that's going to be one of our April Fool's episodes. Simply centralized. Boom.
We have so many, dude. We have like a year. We have a couple of years worth of simply fails.
They're good. But proof of stake designers are very predictably hand wave this problem away. All these concepts also sound strangely familiar. It's because I have written about exactly the same thing 3 years ago on proof of stake systems like Definity. Remember that name, Definity. So much for progress. BS number 5. Next comes the most ridiculous claim. Proof of stake can achieve distributed consensus with just 50% of the network being honest, which is comparable to proof of work's 51%, but with none of the costs. Too good to be true? That's because it is. This directly contradicts all prior research that says proof of stake cannot be secure unless there's 2/3 plus honest majority. If true, Vitalik and company should get a Turing Award. It does say that there are subtle attacks that only requires 25 to 49% of attesters being dishonest. It also claims that there are known fixes to these problems. So convenient. Do tell us what these known fixes are. The only link I can find is in a PR on Ethereum.org. Let's check it out. Oh no, this key PR was closed with no replacements in sight. What's more, it was closed in March, months before this claim was ever made. What's going on? So much for known fixes. Looks like we need to take back that Turing Award. Next paragraph. The all-powerful finality concept strikes again. It's amazing what a crazy person can imagine in their head by just keeping on making stuff up. BS number 6, the illusion of progress. All right, we're coming close to the wrap-up point, people. This is good. Like a snake that eats its own tail, here's the typical picture of Ethereum progress. Problem X is solved by Y, but Y has this small problem, Z. Z would work if somehow it goes back to X being solved. It always goes back to finality. It always goes back to the random oracle. The system is always one PR away from being perfected. Let's quickly look at some other Ethereum activities. Rollups have been trendy as of late. What are they? Rollups are solutions that perform transaction executions outside the main Ethereum chain, but post transaction data on layer 1. Rollups are Bitcoin's default mode of operation. Computations are never on chain, only proofs. So after all the years of meandering, of wanting to be the world computer, Ethereum comes full circle full circle. Back to Bitcoin's tried and true architecture with tons of complexity added in the process. And unicorns and circle jerking. Are rollups Ethereum's acceptance of defeat? If I have free time, I'll look more into rollups and the fancy terms they throw around later. A quick glance, an optimistic rollup already looks suspect. Reframing a security issue, it's unsafe, as an emotional issue, it's optimistic. A note on the deceptive use of language. Finality, weak subjectivity, inactivity leak, optimistic rollup. See the pattern? These are all terms with strong inherent bias, designed to reframe or downplay issues. And this is true. I come from the corporate background. This is total, vague, corporate doublespeak that doesn't mean shit. This is what they tell you when they want you to leave them alone. Pure marketing BS. These patterns of behavior are consistent throughout the years, going back to Vitalik's project just before Ethereum. The quantum computer vaporware. The dude is 27 years old and has been doing this for 7+ years. You can no longer chalk this up to naivete or innocence. Another one for good measure and laugh. BS number 8. Ethereum tech lead frames looking up past balances as stalking. So look, you can see all the narratives that they're pulling together. We're gonna wrap this up, and then we're gonna move over to another screen, which is gonna be pretty interesting. I consider Ethereum the mother of all scams in this space, so it'll always deserve its own special walk of shame. Yes, this is the kind of BS that VCs like A16Z, and that's Andreessen Horowitz, and Paradigm are promoting to millions of people. Whether it's ignorance or willful malice, only they will know. Most other blockchain projects are even worse than Ethereum, such is the state of crypto. Bitcoin fixes all of these bullshits. I figured we'd go take a look at the Andreessen Horowitz or the A16Z portfolio, right? Let's go take a look at all the stuff, well, in this case, it's all their crypto projects. So you could see here, Compound, right? How many rug pulls Did we show you millions of dollars? People lost money that they're never going to get back on Compound. Okay, remember Definity? So it looks like Andreessen Horowitz has been funding the shitcoins from the very beginning. Okay, Definity was one of the projects that that Hanoi mentioned that he debunked 3.5 years ago. Okay, MakerDAO, right? Decentralized Oracle? Nah, not decentralized. A company created shitcoin, company funded shitcoin. That's all it is. Okay, Open Bazaar. That's just an NFT shithole. You go there and you buy and sell your hashes pretending that the JPEGs are tied to them, okay? Let's keep going. Polychain Capital. This is what's really interesting. OpenSea. We showed you who invested in OpenSea, right? So you've got this massive investment house. Think of all of the marketing, right? Think of people like Post Malone getting paid to click on JPEGs, right? $750,000 for 6 seconds to steal your money, okay? So I want you to think about that. OpenSea, Ashton Kutcher, right? Mark, the Cubes, man, the Cubes, the banana coin guy, right? He was thrilled that Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin's garbage, but here's Doge and here's NFTs and here's all this other crap. These scummy pricks. But this is the best part about this whole thing. What's interesting, right? This token has no name. But what is that?
Solana!
Oh my gosh, look at that, Solana. And we just showed you all of the marketing that went into Solana. All the bags were packed in June, and then all the bag holders got dumped on in July, right after the nice big pump. So, guys, this is all just a giant marketing scam. I know that people want to believe that Ethereum is something else. It's not. It's just another shitcoin. It is the base platform that has enabled and validated all the other shitcoin scams. It is the head of shitcoin scammery. It truly is. It's complete trash. And we just keep showing you time and time again that nothing that you're seeing is genuine. It's all funded. It's all funded research. Somebody is paying so that there's a narrative that can be crafted so that you will buy into that narrative. That's all it is. That's all it is.
Absolutely, man. They've touched me on the shoulder. We've shown you guys the emails that they've sent me. But I have a new nickname for you, Phil. It's Phil, the shitcoin slayer. Okay, I'm bestowing that to you because, man, Solana wrecked. You just keep bringing the receipts, bro. They're gonna have to take you out. Vitalik's gonna have to hire a hitman and take out Phil because, man, this is holy crap. And who was the original? Who wrote that thread? That was an excellent thread.
Oh yeah, that was an amazing thread. We're gonna give another shout out to Hugo Nguyen at Hugo Hanoi. Super awesome low-key Bitcoiner who's probably going to be unhappy that we mentioned him. And now he's going to have a whole bunch of people starting to follow him and like his tweets. Maybe he does like it, who knows? But either way, I've been following this guy for a long time, and he just, you know what? That guy is pure signal. Like, he just does not mess around. Like, he is not a shit poster like me. You know, he's not going to sit there and troll people. Like, he just goes, does the research, posts the research. You can go cry about it on your own.
And like towards the end, you know, I started connecting the dots between all the shitcoins, and it's like, dude, it's all the same. It's all interconnected. It's the same people behind this. And remember when we kind of did, or you did, your investigative bit on Ethereum and the Ethereum Foundation, you know, one of the founders, or sorry, one of the chair people, I don't know what they call themselves, but one of the CEOs of Ethereum, I guess, other than Vitalik, was on, you know, the World Economic Forum. So it's like, you know, they're using all the tools in the trade, you know, all the bells and whistles, all the connections in the media to try to sell you exactly what you said, Phil, to try to sell you a narrative, to try to sell you the next world computer. But as that guy pointed out, if you look behind the curtain, there's fucking nothing there, right? It's just all fucking dog shit. And you know, it really makes sense. How long have they been pouting out Ethereum 2, right? And I kind of want to touch on this Vitalik bit a little bit, right? Years. And I want to touch upon this Vitalik a little bit. I think in the beginning, he started with good intentions. He raised a fuck ton of fucking money. okay? And then it just got corrupted over time, and I think he's way over his fucking head, but he can't admit defeat, dude, you know? But and we've shown you guys the videos. Vitalik in the beginning was like, you know, we don't want something like Ethereum, like Bitcoin that has too high fees, right? And then Ethereum ends up with higher fees than Bitcoin, right? So it's like, and then he stays silent. You know, it's very telling if you pay attention to it. Leron, what are your thoughts?
I think you're giving Vitalik too much credit for not starting this as a scam. Personally, I think he knew exactly what he was doing.
Yeah, 20 years old. No one knows what the fuck they're doing at 20 years old.
I don't know that it was only him, and I was actually just going to get into this because we were talking about the venture capital people, and I think that I hope that they are found liable for a lot of this stuff. They know exactly what they're doing. They're the ones that are in his ear and are saying, "This is what we can do. This is what we can raise. This is how we can, push this narrative." And it's, at the end of the day, they're pushing technology to people that, don't understand that it's technology as marketing. And it's like, hey, look at what this can do. It's like, well, there's technology that can do that without a token and without this, without that. You're just adding this as marketing. And I hear it all the time. Hear it from venture capital people all the time. Oh, can you do this, blockchain? We have money for that. People are putting money into that. And, there's not going to be a real return on this, in the future. So I wonder if these venture capital funds are going to be held liable for selling, snake oil effectively to their investors and to the general public. So it's a shame. It's a shame.
Absolutely. And I have just a thought, right? First of all, the centralized oracle is Jeff Bezos. Don't think about it too long. That's him. I took off the mask. It's fucking Jeff, okay? And another thing, how much money of this marketing do you think has been dedicated to attacking Bitcoin? Total speculation, but I suspect there must be a good amount, right? Because, Bitcoin, unfortunately, for the totalitarians, for the shitcoiners, for the fiat economists, it shines a light of truth on all their BS, and they don't like that. Phil?
No. Because I just signed up to get a premium subscription to this deal room site that shows like all the people in the background of all these different companies. I'm sorry, because I'm totally sucked into this. It's true. The shit coining, I'm sorry, okay? Like it just completely drives me crazy. I just want to go back to what you said though. I'm kind of on with Leron. Like, look, I know that he was super young. I do think the VCs had, they were in his ear, but at the same time, you can choose not to be evil. Google chose not to be evil at some point, and then they took the sign down to let everyone know that that's it. It was off the table. It's evil forever now. And they haven't swayed from that path. So to me, like, I think Vitalik, like, look, it makes no difference what his intentions were at the end of the day. The actions are everything, and he made the biggest affinity scam that exists. And it's screwing a whole bunch of people. And none of this tech, as you said, it doesn't need to be money. It's all just marketing.
I know what a lot of people are thinking, right? Because at the end of the day, listen, we all know the technology behind Ethereum is crap, right? We all know that. I think we can all agree to that. We've shown the receipts, but there's going to be a lot of people watching the show. We have mostly hardcore Bitcoiners watching the show, but there's going to be, that one newer that's saying, hey, if you look at Ethereum's price, right, it has outperformed Bitcoin. What would your response be to that, Phil?
You know what? My response would be to zoom out. Number one, and number two, understand what it is that you're actually buying. Okay? One of them is freedom money, and one of them is complete bullshit. Ethereum is complete bullshit, and we prove time and time again that Bitcoin is freedom money. So, but look, you and I both know, Nico, Rect is the only teacher. We can say all the right things. It doesn't matter, man. I've spoken to my best friends. Look, everybody just sits there and they think of the fiat gains. And I kid you not, like, at the end of the day, as well as I do, a noob is going to sit there and go, well, you're making money. Bitcoin's going up. You're not understanding why we're here. We're not dumping our frickin' bags. We're not here to dump our bags. We're here to explain that there is a paradigm shift and we can all have better money.
Yeah.
Like, this is what nobody understands.
We're here to explain to you that when you buy Bitcoin, you won't have to sell your Bitcoin at one point. That's the whole point, right? You're opting out of the system. Why are you going to sell back to slavery money? I think it's a really good point. Leron, you want to hit that question, right? The question was, do you remember it?
Yeah. So, I mean, what I tell them is even the CEO of Ethereum has no idea what Ethereum is going to be in 5 years, or if Ethereum is even going to be in 5 years. But we know what Bitcoin is going to be in 5 years. It's going to be censorship resistant, transaction of value. There's going to be only 21 million ever made. You know, this is just set in stone. It's the way that Bitcoiners work. There's safety in the protocol. It's a slow developing protocol because we want to make sure that all of the rules are followed, that everyone benefits from them, that everyone kind of agrees on the direction that it's going. So yeah, I think it's night and day. When I have my money in Bitcoin, I know what it's doing. I know what it's there for. I sleep easy. With Ethereum, I feel like you're just back in the stock market where I got to read the news every day to see what's going on, when I need to maybe pull my money out depending on what. No, there's none of that with Bitcoin. Just forget it, and it's here to stay.
Beautifully said. There you have it. You heard it here first, because I know a lot of you was like, but Ethereum, the price. It's not about the price. It's about the freedom. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily Meme Reviews. The Daily Meme Review is brought to you by Citadel 21. It's the best Bitcoin cultural zine. It's different stories every volume by plebs, for plebs, different artwork also, and they're scarce. There's only 1,000 made per volume. Get your copy of Citadel 21 today! The first meme is brought to us by our in-house meme lord, Winekiss. Objects in the mirror appear closer than they are. The Fed Reserve, and it's Bitcoin. Hyper Bitcoinization. Oh, he's wearing a Simply Bitcoin. I like the touch, Winekiss. Okay, next one is brought to us by Revenge of Leota Vintage Edition. Bitcoin, Jack Dorsey, Twitter. This is the super famous, template of the guy looking and him with his girlfriend. His girlfriend's like looking at him. And yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit in the news. And then the next one, here's the actual template. Right, by BTC Sessions, Bitcoin, Jack, Twitter, and I love this with Charlie Chaplin. Absolutely, if that is Charlie Chaplin. But anyways, absolutely hilarious memes, and for that, I'm going to give it my furry screen cleaner. It cleans my laptop screen. What about you, Phil?
Big fan of the furry screen cleaner. I am going to give it something. You know what? It's very special to me. Found this very entertaining, and it always brought a smile to my face every time I put it up. It's the poof, my work here is done.
Are you gonna leave that when you leave your job? Just leave that. Don't say bye to anyone. Just leave that right there on your desk and just disappear. Irish goodbye. Don't say bye to anyone. Just leave the little thing there with little arrows pointing at it. Okay. Anyways.
Okay, I'm already starting to get ignored. Don't worry.
Leron, what would you give those memes?
I'm going to give those memes a solid Ron English or Martian.
Bro.
Dude.
Bro.
Marvin the Martian is so underrated. People do not even realize, and that's
a great show. That's a fucking great show, dude. I totally agree. Absolutely amazing scores. Leron blew us out of the water. Anyways, oh, by the way, I got a comment from a pleb, and he was making fun of me. Let me read it.
Wait,
okay?
Making fun of you?
Yeah, he was making fun of me. He said it was her head manath e benzar. Sorry, bro. Okay, but I'm gonna pop up. You're not gonna know who it is. This is Nico, my man. Stumbled on this channel 3 months ago. Now I'm addicted. Just a funny take. At the end of every meme review, you ask for people's comments below, and you point at your crotch area.
This is true.
Is that intended? If not, you could actually pin outward towards the camera and point downward. It would actually point to the comment section then. Okay, fine. Comment down below, not near Nico's crotch area.
Comment near my crotch.
Thank you. When I say that, I mean the comment section. Okay, that's what I mean. I apologize, Hemanath. Okay, but anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily News. The Daily News is brought to you by CryptoCloaks.com. Get yourself the best 3D printed Bitcoin merch, like the 3D printed Bitcoin grenade. It's really cool. You can put your open dimes in there. And of course, the 3D printed Bitcoin Honey Badger. You can put your favorite hardware wallet. Really cool stuff. Take advantage of the link down below for 5% off CryptoCloaks.com. All right, everybody. I'm sure you've already heard, but we're going to give you a slightly different angle, right? Jack Dorsey, which is the CEO of Twitter, right? He announced his resignation and he kind of tweeted about it. So yeah, Jack Dorsey is, founded Twitter. He's been at Twitter for a very long time. He wants to leave and he's giving it away, or he's leaving the position to his CTO. The guy's name is Parag, right? But anyways, here is a CNBC article pointing it out. And this is the new CEO of Twitter, Parag Agrawala. I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. I don't mean to. You guys know the drill. Nico can't read. But anyways, we got a lot of mixed emotions about this on Twitter, and we'll talk about it, but I kind of want to read people's opinion. Here's first is Nick Carter. Jack's departure will make it clear that he was the last bulwark against much more aggressive censorship at Twitter. Jack deserves the break, but I don't believe it will be positive for the platform. And here is Glenn Greenwald. He is the reporter that reported the original Edward Snowden leaks. But anyways, he worked at The Intercept. Now he's become an independent reporter. Hard not to see this as bad news. I don't think it's been fully appreciated that on the key SV issues, including decentralization, transparency, and free speech, Jack has been a far better than most and way more responsive to his critics. We'll see what happens, but it seems not great. I agree. And why is Jack leaving? Of course, there's a lot of speculation, but he kind of hinted at it when he spoke at the Bitcoin conference. Let's see what he has to say.
Like, if I were not at Square or Twitter, I'd be working on Bitcoin.
So you heard him, right? He kind of hinted where he wanted to go. He kind of hinted that his heart was with Bitcoin. Now, I know a lot of people are thinking, right, how could it get worse than Jack, right? Twitter and all social media platforms, to be frank, including YouTube, have gone down this slippery slope of censorship, right? Where there's no end in sight once you start heading down that road. Apparently, the new guy, he had a history of, I don't want to get too political, but let's say he just wanted to, he has strong political beliefs, I'll say that. But
maybe racist beliefs.
Perhaps, right? But again, they don't see themselves as racist because it's only racist in a certain way. And just because it's racist in a certain way, they don't see themselves as racist. So there's like a moral superiority to that. Let's see if Bitcoin doesn't censor, but let's see if Twitter, does become more totalitarian. It does censor more. Let's see. But I do agree with Nick Carter's take. I think that Jack lost control of Twitter a long time ago. I think, and the recent the thing that happened in January where, President Trump got censored, he got booted off the platform while he was still president. I don't think that was necessarily Jack. I think that was people that had a lot of influence that were tapping on the right shoulders and making things happen. So I think Jack understood that, and I think that's why he stepped aside, and he's focusing his work, his time into Bitcoin, because he knows that Bitcoin can't be censored. Anything goes, right? You can't censor any type of transaction. You can't censor speech if you put it in the Bitcoin blockchain, right? So again, I'm a little speculating here, but again, you start to pay attention to the signs and you cover this for a long time, you start to pick up on some patterns. Anyways, Phil.
Yeah, that was some interesting news. I think it's probably along the same spirit as your take, right? So I think people take notice, right? When somebody says, "Hey, I'm opting out of this and I'm going to start to try to live a Bitcoin only life, or I'm going to try to change this." More and more people are doing this, and Jack, let's be honest, could have easily afforded to walk away from the shit show that is Twitter years ago. He really didn't have to sit there for 16 years. He was, you know what I mean? Like the CEO of Twitter and Square. Are you kidding me? Like, you know what? I think that maybe I'd like to believe that he's having this realization that he's like, you know what? I could go and work on the technology that is going to enable freedom for humanity, or I can continue to be a part of the censorship machine that essentially prides itself on poverty creation and censorship and essentially monetary slavery. So, we all have a choice, right? And don't get me wrong, in no way am I judging, any of us that are grinding for fiat. I grind for fiat. Almost everybody does. We don't have a choice, right? This is part of it, right? Like you don't, if you choose not to, well, then you choose to maybe not have a home, choose to not be able to feed yourself, choose to kill yourself, right? Because you can't take care of yourself. So, unfortunately, we have to choose the lesser of two evils. But once a person can get that ball rolling and the momentum going, they can completely opt out of this shit show. It's not something that is not feasible. The question is, how badly, number one, how much do you care about your time? And number two, how much do you desire the ownership, the absolute ownership of that time and its value?
Very well put. Leron?
Yeah, I definitely think that people don't give Jack enough credit. I'm sure that he has a lot of battles at Twitter. I mean, I know that, years ago, Elliott Management came on board and they bought up a ton of shares and they tried to oust him. I think that he has the right idea, and it might not be exactly what you and I agree with, but I think he has his heart in the right place, and he's had it in the right place. I think he knows that he can't do what he would like to do with Twitter anymore. It's it's a public company. It's not run by him, and they need to do all these things and integrate these different things and advertisements that are bad for you, and promote the wrong kind of feeds and the wrong kind of interactions and things like that. That's what makes them money. He had that Blue Sky initiative. I'm assuming it's probably going to die when he leaves because it was pushing towards a decentralization, which I never really understood how Twitter shareholders were going to agree to that, so to speak, because it's like democratizing his business. It's the right thing to do, but it's hard to sell on a public company that's there just to make profit. So I don't think he can compete with himself, so he's not going to be able to build that. But maybe him just focusing on what he's going to be doing at Square and focusing on Bitcoin stuff will help pay for a good future. I like the guy. I think he's done a really good job
I would agree with that. Where would we all be without Bitcoin Twitter, right? Phil and I would never have met. Simply Bitcoin would not be a thing, right? So, and I agree with you, Leron. I think the dude gets a lot of hate for things that necessarily he hasn't done. That's not an excuse. I'm not trying to excuse anything, but I think that there's a lot more behind the scenes that I think a lot of people don't understand. But also the other big headline, and we'll close it up for today, Michael Saylor, MicroStrategy, again, this guy is stacking fucking cornfields, has purchased an additional 7,002 Bitcoins for $414 million. That's nothing in cash at an average price of $59,000 per Bitcoin. As of 11/29, we hodl 121,000 Bitcoins. Just to kind of give you guys a reference point, El Salvador only owns 1,000. So this is just a company, and they own 121 times more Bitcoin than the country of El Salvador. That's a fuck ton of Bitcoin. In total, 3.57 billion at an average price of 29,000. Now, how many Bitcoins is this, right? Here's this awesome tweet by Pubby to kind of give it a concept, MicroStrategy, and he kind of explains what I just explained. But compare this to the number of Bitcoin to be mined annually each halving, right? And this is how much Bitcoin is mined every the next couple halvings. This halving, the one that we're currently in until 2024, is 328,000 Bitcoin. The next halving after that is 164,000 Bitcoin. So that means that in those 4 years of the next halving, Michael Saylor would have bought in most of the Bitcoin to be mined. So the other Bitcoin, you would have had to buy it in the open market. And what happens when you buy something in the open market and there's just not enough to go around? Price goes up, right? So, and just kind of connect this with Bitcoin's, historical performance, right? Kind of explains why it was the best performing asset of the last 10 years. Kind of explains why it was the fastest asset to reach to $1 trillion without a sitting CEO, without any employees, right? So, I mean, absolutely wild how much corn this guy is stacking. But the thing that I want you guys to focus on is even if there was a funded company like MicroStrategy had the capital to buy that much Bitcoin, there physically isn't enough Bitcoin to go around without dramatically pumping up that price. And I don't know about you, Phil, but I'm not selling this shit because it's a lot more. I want to bring down the central banking fucking slavery system, right? And I know a lot of us have this attitude, right? So it's like, what are you going to do? You're going to sell Bitcoin and back to the slavery system, back to someone else holding your money, back to someone else holding your wealth? I don't think so, right? And I think that the whole world is going to go through this supply shock all in one go. And now add into the mix the crazy inflation things happening. Man, we're in for a hell of a ride. That's all I gotta say. Phil?
Just want to point out that Michael Saylor puts out these tweets about him, stacking these cornfields, but yet we can't seem to get him to answer our DMs, and we can't seem to get him to respond on the threads where he's tagged.
Bro, it's because we're just two stupid plebs, two simple plebs, bro.
Okay, but he's spoken to many simple plebs.
I mean,
he's spoken to tons of we're no more simpleton than the other simpletons.
Phil, you should know.
Okay,
we're not smart enough, bro. Okay, we don't take it seriously enough, dude. That's why. We have to be serious. We have to write articles.
We have written articles.
We have to write more articles, bro.
We have written more articles.
We have to write even more articles.
We've even gone on other people's podcasts and talked about Bitcoin.
We have to start going on the Circle Jerk podcasters. That's why, bro. We're not in the Circle Jerk radar yet.
I think we need the khakis. I think that's what we need. We need the khakis. We need to come across more seriously, more concernicus. Okay, we want to be concernicus and we want to be serious.
Look,
okay,
we've had this conversation so many times. If we're blessed enough to keep on growing at the rate we're growing, eventually he's not going to be able to ignore us. But dude, I'm not going to fucking I like our fucking show. I don't there's so much
come on and read some memes.
There's so much serious content out there. We just want to take a lighter touch. And if he doesn't like it, he doesn't like it, bro. That's his problem.
You know what? I'm going to say, he may like Bitcoin, but he doesn't like having fun. And that's why he hasn't come on our show. When he decides he likes having fun, he can come join us.
That's true.
But until then, he's just an angry corn stacker.
Leron, do you agree with him?
I do. Saylor, I think that I know you like to have fun. And deep down inside, I know you like to have fun. So I think you should just think about it. Just think about how fun this would be. That's it.
In the unlikely event Saylor sees this, now he knows how we feel about it. But anyways, guys.
It's okay. I'll take all the flack. I don't care.
No, it's okay.
He's the one stacking fields.
It's good to be transparent. Like Bitcoin's open ledger, we are transparent on Simply Bitcoin. But anyways, Phil, there was an open source software release today. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
Software releases. The software releases are brought to you by CipherSafe. Check them out, cyphersafe.io. It's the best way to protect your Bitcoin from disaster. They've got the Cypher wheel, okay? It's a steel wheel that you could store your Bitcoin seed in. It's fireproof, waterproof, and pet-proof. Check them out. The link is down below. We've got Sphinx Relay version 2.2.0 that was released. Jordan, there you go. I dropped one of the 3 comments that I make. So there you go. Anyways, Sphinx Relay version 2.2.2 was released. It's down below. Check it out.
Wait, what 3 comments?
Because we end up saying software releases 3 times. I say software releases. Then I go, the software releases is brought to you by, and then I say, the software release for today is So I end up saying it 3 times.
Dude, see, the plebs are just so awesome because they tell us, man. They're like, Nico, you point at your crotch. Phil, you're saying this 3 times. If it wasn't for you guys, this show would be a fucking disaster. But anyways, guys, I want to give us... Phil?
33% improvement right there on the... Right? We chopped out a word that no one needed to hear.
That was some
math.
math.
Now they had to hear our explanation about it.
That was math. You see that? You saw Phil do math live. Absolutely awesome. I want to give a very special shout out to the Simply Bitcoin technical correspondent. This guy's a fucking genius, helping us do our dashboard. Go follow him at It's Leron. Guys, that was our show. If you enjoyed the show, smash the like button. And of course, if you want to continue hearing the catastrophic fails from the shitcoins. Phil's bringing on the heat. And the Bitcoin news from the Pleplep perspective, definitely consider subscribing. And we'll see you tomorrow, guys, for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin.
Nico can't read, Phil can't dance. Bitcoin fixes this.